Title seems like I'm better, and a part of me is, because of the fact that I told her so. I'm now 34 female, and middle child to a single Asian mother. I have an older brother who is a decade older, and for his whole life, my mom has babied him. I was expected to contribute to the household when I graduated college at 21 female, but he didn't have to at 31 because he was still in school at community college. She gave him gas money, let him take her car, sleep in, not cook, have me do his laundry, etc. I moved out over 10 years ago and have always kept her at a distance. Due to issues, I don't want my brother in my life or my family's life. I've made that clear with my mother that I will let her have a relationship with my kid, but she is not allowed near him, vice versa. She would get upset at me for hanging up when she showed my kid to my brother on my FaceTime. When I find out that she took my kid to her house to play with my brother and post pictures all over Facebook, I told her no more and that I asked nicely a few times, and you ruined it by not respecting me. Constant years of this and disregarding me and my boundaries. On to the issue. My mom was living with him for a few years now. She still kept cooking for him and everything, and he was working somewhat and paying his portion of the rent. Well, now he moved out, and she is left room surfing with friends and family. She came to my house and cried to me that I don't call her to update her on my life or my family, that she now doesn't live with him and is room surfing. I just replied and asked her point blank, what happened to my brother? She got upset and cried and left. She didn't plan retirement at all. In fact, when I was a teen, I was told that I was to be her retirement, and she would be moving in with me, which I said no, and worked my butt off so I can leave ASAP. See, I would have taken care of my mom had she not disrespected me all these years to the point I am low contact with her. I keep in contact here and there for my kid. I feel bad because she is my mom, but at the same time, it's not like all this wasn't foreseen. I was stressing for years saying this would happen, and here we are. I refuse to help her financially because her son can, and will not allow her to move in because my mental health comes first. Soon I will get family members who have been helping her with room and board reach out to me. I don't feel like an a-hole for not wanting to help her because this is the result of all those years of mistreatment. But I do feel like an a-hole because she's my mom. I need unbiased opinions. Thank you. Edit. I do see some people asking about my younger sibling. She left the family a decade ago due to my mother's treatment of her. I was out of the house and on my own while she was not. She chooses not to communicate with any of us, and I'm fine with that, as I know she has resentment for me due to how my mom always compared her to me, which is not fair. Her mental health is important, and what she needs to do for that is fine. She communicates with other family though, and wants nothing to do with my mom. We are Chinese, and yes, my Chinese tradition, it's the male's job to take care of the mother anyway, while the girl goes off with her husband's family. My family knows who he is, as he has lied to them about money, worked for them at their businesses, but rolls up late and leaves work early, uses their stuff and breaks it without a care, etc. My mom tries to tell him, but he just tells her that he's a grown man and can do what he wants. All of this isn't a surprise to the family, but it for some reason is to my mom. Oh, and yes, she works, still does. She does nails and did not pay into her retirement account. This is why I'm conflicted and might just offer some money to help. We'll see. Thinking hard right now. Think of it as my payment to keep her out of my house. But it could open the door for more stuff because she'll push, and this is seen to me as giving in somewhat. Not the a-hole. It sounds like you've set healthy boundaries and just need some reassurance since she's your mom. Is this okay? And it absolutely is. She's an adult and needs to figure out her own life. Keep on with what you're doing. You're not the a-hole for maintaining your own life and mental health. Not the a-hole. There are people who do not pay attention to the crap storms they create. Those people really don't like it when the day arrives that forces them to acknowledge it. Your mom decided to coddle your brother well into adulthood. She was clear that you were her retirement plan, not the son she showered with preferential treatment. I think the damage is done. She can sit in her crap and spin. That's my unbiased opinion. Not the a-hole. It boggles my mind how parents play favorites in such an obvious way, and always seem to expect the non-favorite to take care of them in old age. She showed you for years what you were worth compared to her golden child. You are not the a-hole for setting boundaries and refusing to bow down to her now that she is turning to you. Beyond the clear favoritism, she has shown repeatedly that she doesn't respect your wishes for your own child. If she lived with you, that would only worsen. Hold firm on your boundaries. I, 28 female, talked to my stepdaughter, 16 female, a few months ago before summer started, and asked if she could babysit her siblings for the summer since me and her father both work, and since I'm pregnant, all the extra money is needed. She said no because she's already made plans for the summer, and she would rather not babysit the whole summer. But if I need help every once in a while, I could text her. I told her no because it's a full-time thing and I need her every day. A week or so later, I find out that she's babysitting her aunt's kids for the summer, and when I asked her why she lied, she said that her aunt is paying her and helping her learn Spanish. She's half Puerto Rican. She also said that her aunt is taking her to Puerto Rico, and she wanted to get more in touch with her culture. I told her that she should always choose family over money, and now I know that having a fun time is worth more than spending time with her family, and don't even bother coming to live with us for school. She left me on red, and only texted my husband during Father's Day, and on her sibling's birthday. School started and she hasn't come over once since the whole time when she would usually come every weekend, nor have my other stepkids since they only come when she comes over. My husband is now mad at me, blaming me for driving his kids away from him, and my kids keep asking when is she coming over. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdaughter to not bother coming to school with us this year? Yes, the a-hole. Your stepdaughter doesn't exist to provide free childcare for you for a whole summer. Stop being salty that she chose the person that values her enough to pay her. How are you surprised that your manipulative threat didn't work? Yes, the a-hole. Isn't her aunt family? Aunt versus wicked stepmother? Sounds like she did choose family. Aunt who pays for babysitting, engages in mutually beneficial exchange, invests in exposing her niece to culture and travel that is meaningful to her niece. Or stepmom that is pregnant and can't afford childcare and wants a full-time free sitter. Damn, hard to choose. Yes, the a-hole. I actually had to put my phone down and walk away a second before coming back to this message. I will not call you out of your name, but you are not very considerate as a person. Pay for a babysitter. Your husband's child is not free childcare as she's just a child herself, and amusingly enough, you're not far off of her age. That 16-year-old was incredibly mature in how she handled you. She's classy as all hell, and her siblings are cool as hell for backing her. Ask your husband why he married someone just 12 years older than his child, and please give me the answer cause I just want to know. My husband and I have been married for 21 years, and we have 3 children together. 2 daughters ages 16 and 15, and a son who is 13. My husband and I have always had a good marriage, and are very similar in many ways, except one: our taste in names. My husband always preferred a more traditional and classic name, while I preferred a name like my own, more different and out there and modern. When it came to naming our children, there were no names we both liked, so we compromised. My husband named our oldest, I named our second child, and our son was given a first name by my husband and a middle name by me. Our oldest has never liked her name. She asked to change it a few times over the years, asking for a name more like her sister. My husband would tell her how beautiful her name was, and how it was meaningful because it represented her family. She said it felt boring and old. And the last 2 years she's been more open about this, and has brought it to our attention many times after. She found a name she loves that she's been using and wants to use it. Recently she sat us down and asked that we consider letting her change it before she turns 18, and she can start off her adult life with less paperwork needing to be changed, and less hoops to jump through. My husband shot it down hard. He told her that she has a beautiful name, and that she will be thankful for it in a few years when she enters the professional world, and wants to be taken seriously. Our daughter pointed out that I never had trouble. He told her he gave her the name with love, with thought, and tied her to several family members. When she pressed more, he told her the decision was final. I told her we would discuss it and talk to her again. My husband said no way. Once we were alone, I told him to get over himself, that I understood he loved her name as it is now, and had poured love into choosing her name, but he's not the one who has to live with it, and I pointed out that he will alienate her by refusing point blank to even consider it, and to take such a hard stance, which implies quite strongly that even if she changed her name at 18, he would still call her by the name he gave her. He said that is exactly what he would do, and I told him that everything I said needed to be emphasized then. He said I couldn't talk because all our kids apparently favor my taste in names, and he might as well not have chosen any names or cared at all. I could tell he was upset. He felt somewhat personally rejected by it. So I am now questioning if I'm the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It is her life, and as long as she doesn't want to be called catch-up or something that will actually make problems, it is fine. This also doesn't seem to be a mood or something she will be over in a month. Not the a-hole. I totally get that he's upset since it's the only name he chose, but he isn't the one who has to live with it. He'll be the a-hole if he refuses to support your child or denies the name change once they're 18. Hopefully he'll come around. Not the a-hole. In my opinion, you should encourage your husband to concede on this for the sake of his relationship with his daughter, particularly given that she will soon be able to change it with or without his consent. Conceding and supporting her wishes now is an opportunity to demonstrate his respect for her ability to make her own decisions, even though he legally doesn't have to. Waiting for her to take matters into her own hands will mean that opportunity on this issue is gone forever. My wife and I have a 7-year-old with autism. I love him to the end of the earth, but even his good days are tough. When I met my wife, we basically discussed everything relationship-wise from the start, what we wanted. We both agreed on having a big family, minimum of 3 children. I come from big family upon big family. My mother has 11 siblings, all who have at least 4 kids each, and most of them have a few kids. My youngest cousins are still in high school, but they also plan on having several kids. My dad comes from less of a large family, but he's one of 6, and all his siblings have at least 2 kids each, some with kids of their own. I'm one of 8. My wife is sort of the opposite. She's the only child. Her dad has 1 brother. Her mother was also an only child. She claims her life was always incredibly boring. Family gatherings were never more than 10 people. Roughly a half of my family moved back to Germany and some to Australia. But even still, our family gatherings are huge. Anyway, my wife has been angling for a second baby for some time now. I've always said I wasn't ready, but wound up telling her the truth 4 days ago. I told her I didn't want a baby because it would negatively affect our current son. She got pissy and said we couldn't let him control our lives. I got angry and told her we can't upturn his life because she has some magical dream with 12 kids. The point of big families is that the parent loves all the children, and they're closer for it. A big family isn't going to work if you just have another baby when you get bored of the old one. She told me I was cruel for changing my mind, and I told her life doesn't work out the way we want. We couldn't have predicted our son would need this much care, but he does, and we can't bring a baby into this family. She packed a bag and left. Her mother called me and insulted me a little because I was destroying her daughter. I told her she shouldn't have agreed to have a baby with me if she wasn't prepared for a child with additional needs. I've contacted a few family members who I'm closest with, and they agreed that he wouldn't cope. Am I the a-hole? I understand I've deeply upset my wife, but our son's well-being shouldn't come before anything in my opinion. I hoped it would blow over, but it's been a while. Edits. My wife's been putting in less effort with him. Every time he has a meltdown, she either ignores him or calls me to help him through it. He's still in nappies, diapers, full-time, and she refuses to change him because he's too old. She doesn't interact with him as much either. I was tired and angry when I wrote the post. I'm not sure if bored's the right word, but she doesn't seem like she wants to spend time with him anymore. Back to add that my son's therapist recommended keeping him away from small children. Yes, the a-hole, although I understand it is a stressful situation. But your wife didn't get pissy. She was disappointed and upset because you dropped the bombshell that you had changed your mind. And I'm pretty sure this isn't some magical dream with 12 kids. Do you not hear how cruelly dismissive this sounds? It's not her responsibility to adjust immediately and say, oh well, I suppose you're right. I expect when you got together she was hoping for a partnership, not a dictatorship. Yes, the a-hole, for implying that your wife wants another child because she's bored of the old one. Even this post is written as if you're the only person that's concerned about your child's well-being. Are you the sole caretaker of your child? Because unless you are, I don't really understand why you think you're uniquely positioned to have the final say on what your son can or cannot deal with. Seems to me that you're the one that can't cope with more, and that's perfectly understandable, but crapping on your wife's valid feelings just to deflect your own is only going to end up in divorce court. Yes, the a-hole, not for changing your mind and not wanting more kids, but for how you addressed it with her. Instead of sitting down and calmly explaining to her that, after a lot of time thinking about it, you've realized that you just really aren't able to deal with another child on top of your son's needs, and that you also feel that having another baby could have negative effects on your son, and, potentially, leaving the younger child feeling a bit resentful at the attention your son needs. You instead lashed out at her in anger and insulted her. That was unfair and uncalled for, and definitely makes you an a-hole. You should apologize to her, and once tensions aren't quite so high, have a rational conversation about both your feelings. My husband died 5 years ago and he was 45 years old, and I'm 45 years old. We had a son who's 20 years old and is presently rounding up college, and he was really close to my husband and took it pretty badly. He did lash out at me a lot when it first happened, but with therapy our relationship slowly but surely got better. To ease things off him, I decided to pay for college, accommodation and everything, so he could just concentrate on his studies. And it has worked out well. He's really smart and he's doing well. I put off having a relationship because I thought I was just not ready yet and still grieving. This year I met someone who I clicked with. He's never been married, and we've been taking things real slow, and he's so amazing. We've been going out for 5 months now, and I really see things headed in a good direction. I went up to my son's college city like I usually do to spend some time with him, and I decided to let him know about me dating again. He reacted terribly to it, and accused me of trying to replace his father. But what really struck me was him saying that I was choosing a man over him, and this was why he wished I was gone instead of his dad. It really broke me, because I don't know, I've always suspected he felt that way, but having it confirmed just really hurt. And I got angry, and I told him that if that's how he feels, then maybe he should consider me dead to him, and I left for home. I know I overreacted, and I called once I returned home to apologize, but he has me blocked. I feel terrible that I've let down my son and my late husband. Yikes, not the a-hole. And to be clear, it doesn't appear you were choosing a relationship over your son. You spent 5 years putting your son first in his grief. It's perfectly acceptable to want to be happy yourself, and I'm glad that you found someone who makes you feel that way. Not the a-hole. OP, he is an adult, and it's been 5 years of you grieving yourself. You're finally ready to share your life with someone else, and that's okay. Do not feel you're letting anyone down by making a little more room in your heart for someone else.